Hi, bestie. Welcome to your Big Three podcast. I'm your
Hello, everybody. I hope you are all well. It's your girl, Jasmine Kylene, coming to you live with yet another podcast. I hope that you are all well or doing as well as you possibly can be, and that you are embracing this change of season. I come to you not only as we ring in the rapture, apparently, but also Libra season, but also fall. And I want to note that summer was sexy. Summer was sexy and hot and sweaty and wonderful and social. But I'm really ready to walk into this autumn era. I'm ready for twilight. I'm ready for hot tea in a good mug. I'm ready for sweaters. I'm ready for the whole vibe. I'm ultimately ready for fall foliage. However, I'm not going to be granted that, gifted the fact that I travel back and forth between Los Angeles and Miami, where there's not a lot of shift in like environmental factor when it comes to seasonal change. LA does get a bit chilly, but I'm not really seeing fall foliage in the way that I'd love to. I'm not seeing the fallen leaves, not seeing the blaring reds and warm oranges. I'm really just seeing palm trees. And I love palm trees and I love my life, but I will say that it is important, and I would invite anyone, whether you live in a city or a state where you are seeing the fall change or not, I really would invite you to interrogate, how do you mark a change of season internally or energetically when it maybe isn't being mirrored to you environmentally? So for me, moving into fall, Florida's probably going to move from a good 82 to a 79. So things aren't going to really change physically, but I think fall is longer nights, and with that I think more intentional solitude, more introspection. I'm excited to move a bit more slowly. I think summer was really this like brash invitation to be social and to consume and indulge in life, and that's delicious and wonderful, but I am excited for fall to be this kind of like return back home to the senses. I'm excited to upkeep a journaling routine again. I'm excited to switch up my breakfast and the soups that I'm eating, and overall just like have a more autumn relationship with myself. I think that in summertime I wanted to be seen and I wanted to show up to as much as possible, and I think there's so much to glean from that, but I think that fall is really inviting me to tend to my tenderness and be really present with my nervous system in a new way. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes I just come on here and I say, let's just say anything. Let's see if any of it lands. I typically offer journaling prompts when I do these check-ins before we get into the interview of the podcast. And the journaling prompt that I'm going to journal on later, that I'm very excited, was gifted to me by a reel that I scrolled by because I'm addicted to scrolling Instagram in a way that is so detrimental to my psyche and well-being. I don't remember who said it, but it was a brilliant man who was talking about how a lot of the ways that we shape our lives and our relationship with manifesting is by reaching for something, trying to get something, trying to bring something and into fruition in our physical lives, when the actual secret to manifestation is to be a welcoming environment for it to bloom already, because everything that you want already exists. It's just a matter of, are you an environment conducive to its growth? And sort of like being the flower that a pollinator is drawn to rather than going out and chasing the bees. And it's a sentiment that I've heard time and time again in a million different ways, but for some reason the way that he said it really hit me. In terms of the word welcome, I think welcome was a word that I had never really heard used in this context before, but it's so interesting when you think about, am I a welcoming environment for what I want rather than how am I going to get what I want? And so I've been sitting with that for the past 24 hours, and I wanted to invite you to sit with it as well. Are you a welcoming environment for what you want? Whether it's, health has been a big subject of my life this past year, and so I think when I'm trying to chase being the healthiest version of myself, or watching my loved ones trying to almost fight for their health, that feels so oxymoronic, right? To like fight for your health, because I think that health vibrates on the same plane as ease and trust and peace and rest. And so sometimes health looks like doing less rather than trying to do so much to be healthy, right? I think that sometimes I can take too many supplements and work out too much and do too many of the things that maybe put my body into a state of stress to where I'm less healthy than if I just rest into my well-being. And I think that can be applied into many different avenues, whether you're trying to manifest something career-wise or relationship-wise or just in any avenue. I think it's so important to interrogate whether or not you are a welcoming environment for what you want and what that looks like. If you want love, are you on every single app sort of trying to perform as someone to be chosen, or are you choosing yourself and tending to who you are as a lover at home slowly and intentionally? I think that's like a different kind of energy. For those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, this past 2 months, I have gone through an absolute crisis of wanting to abandon journalism because as an Aquarius, you would think I wouldn't be at odds with AI, but AI is the antithesis of everything that I stand for. And so as I watch AI be a threat to or not a threat, but a tool that I don't know if we know how to use with respect and with intention, as it sort of poisons my creative field, I've been wondering if I should pivot, let's just say. I've been considering other career fields, and I think that I'm chasing a sense of like peace and like security in my career when I actually should lean into being that security for myself and knowing that if I'm doing something that's bred from heart, I will always be taken care of and nothing can threaten me living in my divine purpose. So that's just a journaling prompt that I wanted to offer the girls and gays. How can you be a more welcoming environment for what you are calling in rather than trying to wrangle it into your reality? And so with that being said, I would love to introduce the guest for this week's episode or this month's episode. I'm a little gagged that I got her, I'm not gonna lie. But I have this thing where for some reason, I'm always able to like speak to my idols. Like there's something magnetic in my chart. I think it's maybe my Jupiter in first house. Maybe it's that Sag rising who I share with this wonderful guest. But like if I really admire and I'm really moved by someone, I'm somehow always able to have a really human conversation with them. Like I can cut through and like get to them. And Lady Crow has been someone who I have followed on YouTube for a handful of years now, but I think that there are countless intuitives, and the intuitive that is a channel for you will find you and will resonate with you, and that channel may not be the channel for someone else. They may not resonate with the way that they offer their messages or the way that they guide, but there's an intuitive for everyone, and Lady Crow is an intuitive for many, and she's absolutely an intuitive for me. I've exclusively only done tarot readings with her and her only for like 5 years now. She is one of the most gifted mediums and intuitives that I've ever come across. Every message she's ever brought into my life and into my mother's life, I've booked readings with my mom with her too, have been so palpably accurate. And beyond that, she's also just been a guide in terms of my own spiritual journey and how to step into my power as a divine goddess and as a woman and as someone who has what we all have, which is an intuitive compass, and has taught me more about how to listen to it and how to alchemize my gifts into something that can really serve me and the collective. And I'm so grateful that she was open to coming on and opening up about her chart, which is her big three is Aquarius sun, Scorpio moon, Sagittarius rising. I'm an Aquarius sun, Leo moon, Sagittarius rising. I want to immediately just state that about me. And I think that is part of the reason why I resonated with her so much. She's just got this spunk that I think mirrors the little girl in me. And I think the little girl in her is very alive. And she has offered so much wisdom throughout her YouTube channel, her newsletter, her Instagram, the book that she has coming out. But also I was able to really just talk to her on a human level as she steps into this new role of motherhood and of wifehood, and get into not only just her chart, but what her spiritual quest has colored within her as a woman and as a human being. And so without further ado, here is the interview that I did with Lady Crow. Would die for her. Love her. Hope you enjoy.
I always love to start these, first and foremost, by naming a couple of celebrities that also have your sun and moon combination. And just saying, like, if you have some sort of like emotional connection with them, which is funny because the last one that I did, she was a Gemini sun, Gemini moon. There was not a lot of celebrities that came up for her, but for you, there were so many. Starting
Oh.
with Bob Marley. I'd love to know if you have any kind of spiritual connection with Bob Marley.
I mean, listen, it might be my ego speaking, but it resonates. No, I
Don't
mean,
we all?
Bob Marley. I mean, talk about someone who, had such a focus on healing humanity and speaking for, the masses and really being a figurehead of a movement that was so needed, but not always popular at the time. I absolutely resonate with that. And the fact that he has only become a legend like after like he's only become more and more and more Aquarius. I can't even. Yeah, for sure. I love it. I'll take it. I'll take
Yes, I couldn't agree more. No,
Yeah.
of course, of course. He was so ahead of his time, and I feel like, yeah, it took the world sort of like catching up to him, and I feel like that resonates with who you are so deeply. Okay, so obviously Guy Fieri, I'm just gonna throw out there, Rick James, reality stars including Lauren Conrad and Denise Richards. I'm a big Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fan. Let's pause there. Do you have a comment for any of those names?
I'm
Aquarius
dying.
and Scorpio moons.
Rick James, I just see Dave Chappelle going, "It's Rick James, bitch!" Like it's just like
Yeah,
in my head. Like I have
that's
this
you.
guy. I'm like, yeah, I mean, a true original is all around. Lauren Conrad's an interesting one. That's The Hills,
Yeah.
right? You know what?
Yes. Hmm.
What's interesting about that? And I don't know her personally, but I did live in the same building right after she left in The Hills, like in West Hollywood. So I saw her from afar a couple of times way back when. And I will say something, and this is, I don't mean this to be a bit of a read, but like that somehow doesn't surprise me because there is this aspect, especially in reality TV context, with Scorpio moon being so private and so, I have a feeling that her persona and what she showed the world is probably very, very different than who she is
Yes.
like in privacy.
Yes.
I actually I see and feel that. Yeah. That makes sense to me. Denise
I
Richards.
agree.
Yeah, I like you say that and I'm like, yeah, yeah, that feels like it could be quite true. Denise Richards, that's a wild one. I'm also a Real Housewives fan, and I mean this
Yeah.
like with all due. But I do feel like there's a little bit of a cautionary tale there. And I say that in the sense where
Yeah.
these particular placements, Aquarius, Sun, and Scorpio Moon, they don't always see eye to eye. In a lot of ways, they are in
No.
natural opposition to each other. And
Yeah.
her, and I say this from love, I don't know her story, I don't know her, personally, obviously, but there's a certain disassociation from self that can sometimes happen when we have two placements that aren't in alignment. And I have a feeling that given that she has lived such a life in the public eye, that that was probably incredibly
Yeah.
difficult for her Scorpio moon. And it led to a certain
Yeah.
disassociation or separation where her persona was quite different. Again, kind of like one, but very different. So that actually, that says to me that you know what that does for me? Like hearing that, that says
Tell
to me
me.
like, I really made the right call in leaving that industry. That could have been me.
Yes.
Like for real, for real. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like, later after this, I'm going to look up what Charlie Sheen's chart is because I do need to know. There's something so volatile about their connection. I have to know what were they triggering in one another, right?
Like,
Imagine.
like
Oh my
for
God, that's
real.
tea. Yeah.
I bet he has Leo somewhere. He's got to have Leo
God, yeah.
somewhere.
Oh God.
I would be shocked if
I
not.
couldn't agree more. The other names we have Minnie Driver, who's an absolute legend, Molly Ringwald, Laura Linney, Hannibal Buress, Robbie Williams, and The Weeknd. So,
Okay. Now
yeah.
that absolutely don't put me in a box. Don't try to describe me, just appreciate me. That resonates for sure. I receive all
Yes.
of that. And I love that they're all kind of oddballs, like in their own like beautiful way.
Yes.
You know what I'm thinking of? Like this is very random, but when you say Minnie
Mm.
Driver, my mind automatically goes to when this is gonna show my age a little bit. When she was watching him, I forget which late night talk show it was, but she learned this day he had broken up with her by watching his interview on the talk show. I was like, "Oh, how are you and Minnie doing?" And he was kind of like, "Oh no, like I'm single, like whatever it is." And she tells the story, and the Oscars are right after, I think, for Good Will Hunting. And so she had
Right.
just found this out at the same time as the entire public. And like knowing that she's like a Scorpio moon and like like, oh my God, that must have been
Oh my God.
who she must have, the strength and control it must have taken to
Yes.
go to that awards ceremony and have cameras like watching her, like, ooh, is she going to respond when he gets
Yes.
up and accepts the award? The anxiety I feel like the second, like, oh my God, like what
Yes.
a G, like so much strength. Thank God she's British. They do that better than us, I think, Americans for sure.
Yeah.
For
I
lifting
do
a
feel
lot.
like they have a better relationship. Yeah, with compartmentalizing. Oh my God. No, honestly, I mean, an Aquarius Sun Scorpio Moon is such a distinct pair. So seeing this list, I do feel like there's no two Aquariuses that are alike. I do feel like that's one sign that's very distinct in the fact that each
Mhm.
is so individual. But I think that this list is a true testament to the fact that there is something that, like, your eccentricity is truly your superpower. And I feel like what resonates and what overlaps with all of you guys is that there's a way that you arrive and present and give to the world. And then there's such a second world that nobody knows about. And I find that to be so fascinating how you, as someone who has been accessible digitally and through the industry, you've also been so good at like maintaining an anonymity. I never know how to say that word. Anonymous. You protected being anonymous in some way. I'd love to know, what is your relationship with privacy? How do you sort of maintain that as like a sacred tool for yourself?
I love that question. And my answer to that is that it's always evolving. How my privacy used to look, I spent many years when I came out of the industry cocooning, and privacy looked very different than it does now, living with a husband and, 3 kids and all the rest of it. It's very, 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 very different. I've had to adapt on the fly. I think the only reason that I'm able to function well and even thrive in a familial circumstance such as this, where privacy is not always assured, sometimes I have to, like, strategic and go, how can I manufacture this for myself in some way? But it is something that I'm continually checking in with myself around what I think my needs are and what they actually are. Because there is a part of
Mm.
me, I did not get the needed privacy for much of my early life. So the adult me now checks in with little Liz and goes, okay, you're feeling like you really need some privacy. You need to just be in your own space and on your own and have your own like inner world. Is that little Liz asking for that? Or is that big Liz needing to, down regulate and come to, grounding and the rest of it so that you can refuel yourself and go on and keep sparkling and doing the most in whatever it is. So it's evolving, and it's something that, and I gotta say, I think my Sagittarius rising helps me tremendously with this. It's something that I'm able to improv on the fly. I never used to be able to do that. I laugh now at what I used to think I needed in terms of price. I mean, my husband will tell you, like, it has changed so much. So I improv it now, and it's, some days are easier than others. Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Oh my God. I find that so fascinating, especially because, not to immediately make it about myself, but we share a very similar chart, you and I. I am also an Aquarius sun. I'm also a Sag rising. I'm a Leo moon, but I do think that there is some overlap in there. And I would love to know, because I find that, like, I know that partnership and I know that motherhood is part of my divine destiny. I feel very sure about that. But also, as an only child and as this like this life drenched in like intentional solitude, I wonder how I'm going to cope with like the sacrifice that comes with now belonging to someone else and having to like build an ecosystem where you are not the center. And so, yeah, was there like a transition period that you kind of had to cope with that at all?
Oh my God, I'm dying because I so relate to that. I'm going to tell you, you know what really did it? And it was something that put what I thought I needed and my, experience into rather harsh perspective, and that was COVID. COVID came
Yeah.
along, separated me from my person. He was in the UK. I was back in America. We didn't know when we were going to be together again. I was all by myself. And that really shifted a lot for me. So even when I did come over here and I moved from living all by myself for like, what, decade and a half, living my own reality, doing whatever I wanted, like whenever I wanted, whatever. It was me and my animal menagerie, living my life. When I came over to the UK and was suddenly in a family unit where I had to share, my time wasn't my own, my schedule was not my own. I had to negotiate to film videos for YouTube. I had to go out and say,
Yeah.
can I just do 6 signs? Is that okay? Can you wait to, take a shower? Can you wait to need me to take you here? Okay. But every time I felt the rub against that, I thought, but look at what I got. But is the exchange worth it? Did I level up in the change? And the answer has always been yes. It's always been yes. Even in the hardest times, I think, would I go back? Would I? No, no, because what I got
Yeah.
was so much more rewarding. And I honor that part of me for getting me to where I am and being able to be a better partner. I look at that time that was all mine as preparation to be able to share my time now. That's how I have to perspective shift and look at it. But it took me, my husband could attest, it took me time. It was a transition where I was like, oh my God, like what I just want to say, I just want to do it. It took time. It was not easy. I'm double fixed sign. It was not easy. Scorpio, Aquarius,
Same.
like whoo, I want what I want and I want it yesterday. And if you don't understand it, then you're the problem, sweetie. You need to look at yourself. Okay. And no, I'm not projecting. Get it together. I'm a gift. You're welcome.
Yes. I walk around with such a high because I feel like I'm so in love with my own company that if I have to sacrifice even a second of it, you should really see it as a gift and you should really be so, sacrificial. But it's funny because I'm in a long-term partnership now for the first time and really my whole life. And the change that has evolved me through with actively choosing someone else and knowing that their company, the way that it is growing me, is evolving me into the next stage of womanhood and my own self is so, 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 so beneficial. And so I understand exactly what you're saying. Can I know what sign is your partner if you're open to sharing?
Oh my God. Yeah. So he's fellow air sign. So he's Gemini's son. He is a,
He.
okay, Cancer moon, honey, for my Scorpio moon. And he is a Taurus rising.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Cancer Moon is like one of my favorite placements because it's just I mean, obviously it's at home and it's just it's so nurturing and it's so homey and it's so comfortable. I love it.
I agree. I struggle with Cancer energy. I'm just going to say it. I think Cancer
Safe
knows
space.
that intuitively. They're my lowest views. They've always been my lowest views on YouTube. I really, really struggle with that energy. So there's a
Yeah.
shadow side to Cancerian energy that everything in my core just has very little patience for. I go very quickly to, oh, I'm going to drown in a vat of Cancerian tears. Like it just, I really, really struggle with it.
I
So
do enjoy
I
being the victim, I can't lie. Yeah.
listen, and I was raised by a Cancer. So like I have intimate understanding and knowledge of the shadow side of it. Now the light side of it, oh my God, so nurturing. We'll give them, the shirt off their back, but the shadow side will go, I gave you the shirt off my
Yeah.
back. What do I get for it? And I really, really struggle with that. So he teaches me a
Yeah.
lot. Those
Yeah.
placements for each other, we teach each other quite a bit. Yeah.
Of course. And do you find that in partnership, the characteristics of the people that raised you, guardians throughout your life, tend to show up in partnership and it's sort of like for a purpose towards your own evolution?
Everything's
Yeah.
connected. And you could look at it as chicken or egg.
As someone who is just seemingly in so much surrender to rebirth, are you more comfortable in change than not?
That is a really interesting question. Yeah, if I'm honest, it's interesting though, because I am more comfortable with change that I am facilitating because I love control in
Yeah.
a way. But yeah, probably. But I think that part of that is also just about I have a certain comfort level with, the way that I grew up and kind of my history and past. If things are stagnant for too long, it just feels a little bit not right to me. I just kind of feel like the itch. I'm just like, oh, so I need to learn something new. I need to try something new. I need to go in some way. I need to like that drive is always, 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 always. So yeah, I think in a sense, yeah, but definitely preferred if it's
Mm.
coming from me. But of course, yeah,
As a dominant fixed would. And it's funny because as a Sagittarius rising, and I think that I see this in you, it seems like you can kind of make home wherever you decide home to be, especially like now living in a place that's sort of foreign to you. Was that always, did you always kind of foresee yourself ending up in a country brand new and unexplored or no?
no, no,
Tell me.
not at all. Like when I look back on my life, I go, oh, that kind of tracks. I've lived a bunch of different places, and I look back and I go, oh, yeah, okay. I guess it's not that unexpected, but no, I never saw myself doing anything like this. And partly, that has been a great catalyst in terms of my embracing change and also learning to, not just release control, but to trust control in the hands of the divine. So it's like, I don't necessarily know what's best. I've got to walk my walk and talk my talk and trust that something's being divinely orchestrated, within my best good. So no, I never saw it coming, but it just feels, do you know, what is it called? Cartography, astrocartography. Are you familiar with that?
Astrocartography, yes.
Okay. So like I was looking at that semi recently. It kind of makes my head hurt a little bit. But my Venus line, my Jupiter line, all of it goes right through here. Like it just makes all the, and I was like, okay, like it's not even in America. It just goes straight through like the UK, like France. Like I think we've had this date from the beginning, to quote, Stanley. So yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Astrocartography is so accurate. It also makes me dizzy. There's so many lines, geography, what are we doing? But it really is so, because I have a Saturn line going through Los Angeles where I'm kind of going back and forth. And every time I'm there, it's just like, I feel the resistance, but also how it's evolving me. But yeah, I would really recommend going towards that Jupiter line, that Venus line, Mars, if you want to get something done,
Yeah.
type of vibe. But yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think it can be incredibly comfortable. I think my Chiron line is right through where I grew up. I was like, wow, you really can't make that up.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because I feel like you have been so open about sort of like how your wounds have been your compass and how that's deepened your relationship with your intuition. And I think that informs a lot of how you've spearheaded shadow work, which is now kind of like a big part of this book that you're putting out. And I'd love to know, when it comes to shadow work, what did that journey look like for you? Were you doing shadow work before you even knew it was shadow work, or was it an intentional sort of pivot?
No, I was doing shadow work, and I read about this in the intro for the book, actually. I was doing shadow work before I even knew what it was. I understood the concept of manifesting. And this was back when there was, that level of like almost toxic positivity where there's such an overemphasis on the light and, look at the positive and you're going to manifest, your best life if you just want it badly enough. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. And I was like, I don't understand. Why it's not working for me. And I just sat down and said, okay, my intuition is the one thing that has never really led me astray when I have chosen to listen to it. I sat down and what was there was all of this shadowy landscape that was just going, okay, well, if you really want to know, it's about what's keeping you from what you want, not how to get what you want. What you want is already yours. You just got to remove the blocks to allow yourself to receive it. And so I started going about it. And it was only through like that process of doing that more that I started really looking up stuff about shadow work and going like, oh, okay. And realizing like, oh, that is entirely what I've been doing, just not more through an intuitive lens. Because I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. I didn't go to school for that. I understand shadow work from a different perspective. As an Aquarius, I read a lot about it. I understand it with my head. I understand it logically. But in terms of my knowing it, this was not a therapy situation that said, we're going to do shadow work now. This came very organically from my soul, understanding that it was needed. It was absolutely necessary if I wanted to get to where I felt strongly that I was meant to be.
Oh my God, that's so powerful that what you want is already yours. It's about sort of removing what's keeping you from it. I feel like that's the heart and soul of this line of work. And I'd love to know, as someone who is seemingly so immersed in their spiritual upkeep, do you ever like pause it and like watch reality TV, eat junk food? Is healing ever enough, if that makes sense? Is there ever a time off from it?
That's a really brilliant question. And for me, absolutely, I think that for me, and I'll really speak for myself, like in particular, I love reality. Sagittarius rising are known. We love to watch people be themselves and act a fool and just do all these weird, we love it. I love reality TV. It's funny because my husband, he'll walk in the room and go, God, you're watching this stuff again. And I'm like, every 90-day fiance, every, The Other Way, UK, before, all of it, it helps my brain ground into my human experience because I am here to be human. I am not here to live in the other plane while I'm in the human body. I don't want to miss out on the meat suit experience. It's really important to me. That other, aspect of the spiritual connection, all of that, that's always there. I don't really have to work at that very much. It's just my reality. It doesn't take much. So choosing to ground in and eat food that makes me feel my body, that grounds me into my body is so, so important. And I always kind of laugh because it's kind of an old school new age way of thinking where it's like, and I got this a lot on the channel in the early days too. I remember like back in the early days, I used to have like a can of like Diet Coke and it wasn't completely out of the frame or something. I used to get like, oh, how can you drink that and be, spiritual and all of this? And it makes me laugh. So you got to be vegan, you got to be this. Listen, I respect your path and your journey, but I'm trying to be human this lifetime. I'm trying to enjoy it and live and drink Diet Coke, honey, and eat my, Reese's and all of it. And especially for those of us who, like myself, is a medium, most mediums I know, like, do something that helps bring them into their body because it is such a almost out of body experience connecting in that way. Most mediums are either a little bit overweight or they smoke weed or they smoke cigarettes. There is something that they do. And I think that that's really person specific, but I love reality TV. It helps me whenever I will read for someone and I've got to like process it. It's like, I could sit here and be like, I take my shoes off and I go and I stand in the grass and I twirl around 3 times and I call to the goddess. Sure. Yeah. But before that, I'm going to have a bag of Doritos and a Diet Coke. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch some reality TV to just get out of my own head and like back into the ecstasy of banal living, really, for sure.
Yes. Oh my God, that was worded so deliciously, and I couldn't relate more. And I wanted to know your relationship with that because I would find that I would do like an hour-long reading and I would leave it drenched in sweat, and I would always like on autopilot just like go straight to the pantry and like eat like bread. Like I needed like
Yeah.
something to get me back into my body. And I found that I was wanting to come from crown back to root. And I also find that sort of like all of the reality television that I consume is sort of like it's like bathing my brain. I'm no longer over processing. I am
Yes.
just in this like parasympathetic place of, just consuming. And like exactly like you said, as a Sagittarius rising, I just like watching humans be humans, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I think it's important that people hear that spirituality is how you define it, you know what I mean? And also that sometimes the journey looks like really ingesting those self-help books and really being in the readings and in the stars. And sometimes it looks like the lived experience and being present and having dinner. And it's what's in the palpable and the tangible. So I think that that's so fascinating that you have a relationship with that as well. Yeah,
Yeah, we're here to be
for
human.
sure. Yeah. And I feel like you're in the highest evolution of humanity being that you are now in motherhood. I'd love to know, especially in this like beginning chapter of it, how has that already transformed the way that you relate to your own spirituality or your own humanity?
Wow, that's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
My daughter is so fresh from the other side. She was there quite recently, and it's almost like being with a celebrity where I'm like, oh my God, what's it like? I'm watching her. I'm feeling her energy. Oh my God, she's fresh from it. I wonder if she was, talking to grandma and, just to watch her and be with her. I feel so much more connected to my ancestry through her. I feel so much more connected to honestly, my purpose as a healer. She really helps me put things in perspective on a moment to moment basis. And that is so incredibly important when we talk about what we think we need and our time and all the rest of it. To surrender on a daily basis in this way to the needs and demands of someone else, this tiny little, angel baby. It's little tiny deaths of ego consistently that I feel like are making me a better person. I mean, I just absolutely, I'm more empathetic, appreciate things more. There's no sense or way in which motherhood does not change it, even at a molecular level. It's the wildest thing I've ever experienced. Yeah.
Oh my God. First of all, you and Rihanna having daughters in the same year is huge to me. I just want to like that.
I just saw the photo of
Something
her
to note.
holding like, yeah.
I'm like, she got her girl. And I love that you're a mother to a girl, because I do feel like if anything, it seems like there's just almost this karmic cycle of like, healing almost your own inner child wounds through the way that you intentionally parent. And I think that that's just such a transformative experience. And so, yeah, just so. And what can I know what sign she is?
Absolutely. So she is a Taurus sun. She is
Taurus,
like,
yes.
she's a Virgo moon and a Sagittarius rising.
No way. Oh my God.
I was like, oh.
Oh, she is an earth goddess. I always say if I could be another sign, and I'm Aquarius down to the molecules, but I would be Taurus. I think anything Venusian is just so deliciously
Really?
feminine, you know?
Really?
Yeah, I would be Taurus. Would you not at all?
I will tell you that the placement that I struggle with the most in my chart is my Taurus North Node.
Yeah.
I really, Tauruses have been my greatest teachers historically, my most transformative relationships, my fixed sign to fixed sign. But it's interesting because when she was a Taurus, I thought she was I was like, come on, Gemini, we're gonna, because she was right, like supposed to be born on that borderline. And I remember messaging with you and saying like, oh, I'm about to have the baby, and you were like, oh my God, she's could be a Taurus. That's wonderful. And I remember thinking like, okay, well, we're hoping for a fellow air sign, but it's so funny because she is the best. I know it's funny to say. She sleeps well, she eats well, she's so grounded, even as like a little baby. Like she's so here for the human experience. She's like, it's a beautiful energy. Yeah, it really, really is. I'm appreciating it in a way I never have before.
Yes. I think what I love witnessing in Taurus, and particularly in Taurus women, is that they have no shame in completely indulging in every form of pleasure,
Mm.
whether it's like taste and music and soft linens. And I find that to be something that I want more of, more unapologetically. I feel like I always have to put condition to everything, but like they are so immersed in like the experience of their senses, and so I find that to be fascinating. But yeah, I love a Gemini Aquarius raising a Taurus. I think that's pretty iconic. I think you have a superstar on your hands here. So yeah.
I would have to agree, of course.
Yes, of course, of course. Another thing that's so fascinating about your chart is the concentration in the third house, which makes so much sense in terms of like how your entire career, it seems like, has only made sense that your next step right now is stepping into this author role, and also speaking to what so much of it seems like your dharma is rooted in. Did you always kind of know this is where you would end up in terms of like your work and your life purpose?
No. No.
T.
Not at all.
You never do.
No.
Yeah.
And I look back and I go, everything where I thought I was going, everything that I learned in terms of being an actor and having acting school, all of that prepared me for where I am. I just didn't realize it at the time. And I, it's interesting when things go so differently than you think that they will. But being able to, that's why they say hindsight is, 2020. Being able to look back and go like, oh my God, it all just worked out in this really perfect way. And I will tell you, I had always dreamed of a life like this, but I did not think it was ever going to manifest for me in this lifetime.
Mm. And what do you think led to it actually being able to come into fruition? What was that surrender?
I'll tell you exactly what it was. Dr. Stephen Farmer, who is animal medicine expert, like absolute, like amazing human, prolific writer, all of the things. I was in a mentorship with him, and one of the first, and he's like big Capricorn energy, like
Right.
triple cap energy. I was at a mentorship with him, and he said, I feel like there's this book that, that you're meant to write. Do you know anything about that? And I had dreamt up this book. I was never going to tell anyone about it. I was never actually going to write it. I just had an outline, and then I just kind of slowly backed away and went, well, that's never gonna, who am I fooling? Like, let me just stick to what I'm good at over here. And the spirit really led me to that relationship in him. And he, like, every week was like, okay, I want chapter 1 in 2 weeks. Okay, now chapter 2. It was him imbuing me with that Capricorn sort of. Capricorns, you can't tell them that they can't do something. They don't have a tendency to get in their way in the same way that, at least I do. So that's a beautiful exchange of him holding me accountable. That's what did it. I honestly, with his help, I got out of my own way and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? And it really led to, that just where I am now. And it's so true that when something is meant for you, the doors will open. And that's exactly how it happened. It was like boom, 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 boom. It was flowing out of me. I submitted to publishers when I had finished the draft. And my current publisher, I heard back from them in 48 hours and they wanted the book. There was none of this, whole like, oh, I was read 12 rejection letters. I was like, I'm going to hang them up on the wall like I've seen in films, and I'm going to, be strong, and I'm going to trust that. There just wasn't any of that. It was just like, no, you're exactly where you're meant to be. The doors are open. You followed the intuitive leads, and that's what it is. And that's exactly how it happened for me. This idea came to me in the shower, just like it tends to do.
Yeah.
And I just took step by step to get out of my own way and just follow it. And that was exactly what it was. And it was also giving myself readings about, how can I get out of my own way around this? And I used a specific deck called the Akashic Tarot. And that was incredibly helpful for me in terms of looking from a soul perspective, what that block was about and how I could move around it. Because I knew that if I wanted it, there must be a damn good reason for it.
Of course. And it only makes sense that you would have sort of like a Saturn ruled mentor to kind of like be the compass and step out of your own way. I would love to know your perspective. As an Aquarius, do you identify more with being Saturn ruled or Uranus ruled?
I mean, absolutely.
Uranus, me too.
I mean,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
I'm, oddball and stranger take on. Like,
Couldn't agree more.
yeah, 1,000%.
Yes. Because there's so much narrative around how, we're traditionally Saturn ruled, but I'm like, I see Capricorn as like a very separate energy. And I see Saturn energy as so crucial, so critical to make amends with, but ultimately so foreign to me,
Yeah,
But like
same.
Uranus, I'm like, oh yeah, nothing makes sense. Yeah, of course. Why would it? Yeah.
But same, exactly.
That's so interesting. But yeah, well, I'd love to know more about, because I think everything you said is so, so, so true. I think that there's little resistance when you are walking the path that was forged for you. And so it was easy because it was supposed to. And I'd love to know now with it's navigating your shadow. And what's the rest of the title? I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting it.
An intuitive compass for exploration.
Oh my God. I could die. I'd love to know now that it's sort of almost in the hands of the rest of the world, your baby, your second baby almost. How do you feel sort of now knowing it's going to be no longer sacredly yours in that sense?
What's really interesting? I finished this book like well over like a year ago. There was a waiting period. So this didn't happen. Like I had finished it and then I became pregnant and a mom. And so there were some delays that happened around. So it's interesting there. And I mean, this may be a little bit like cheeky of me to say, but there's a part of me that's like, I've moved on. It's not even out yet. And I'm like, what's my next book? Like, it's so fun. It's very Aquarian of me, but I'm like, I haven't even really engaged with the thought of like, it's going to be with other people. I mean, for me, it's like already out. I'm thinking about other things. It's funny because my publishers were like, we need you to go back and just look at these little things in the draft before we send it to the print and, all this other stuff. And I was just like, there was a part of me that thought, how boring. Like I've already I've already released it to the ethers. And they're like, well, that's great, but we need to get the QR codes right. I'm like, right. Back to business. So in a way, I think it mentally it's already done, but I do think it's going to be a special, unique moment when people start reviewing it. I think that'll be a really interesting
Of
experience for other
course.
people to have opinions about it. I think that'll be a journey. Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that like no one should have an opinion about what I do.
Okay.
I'm like very not into
Okay.
it.
Same. My publisher was like, oh my God, like there's going to be reviewers and we're going to send airs. And I was like, oh, hmm, interesting. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
right. That's a part of it. Right. Okay. Well, okay. We'll take it as it comes then. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that probably is like our fixed sun and moon. I'm just like, I'm not quite not quite looking for feedback. It's just something that came out of me and there it is, but I get the point of it all, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure that the world will only receive this body of work with nothing but praise and if anything gratitude because you have already shown so much just you're so in your divine purpose in terms of like the way that you lead and the way that you guide and the way that you plant seeds for people to find the guide within themselves. And I think that this book is just an extension of you living that purpose. And so is there a mission statement or is there something that you want the person who reads this novel to walk away feeling or having learned about their own selves?
That's a wonderful question. I would say there's a lot, but to sum it up, the first thing that would come to my mind is for them to have developed and continue to develop a soulmate relationship with their shadow and everything that entails.
Yeah.
How would we treat a soulmate? How would we, right? When we find a soulmate, whether it's a friend soulmate or a romantic soulmate or whatever it is, that's a relationship that we nurture, we water it, we expose it to the sun, we take time for it, we understand its love language. All of the things that we do with someone who we feel that soul connection with, I would hope that the reader will, fall in love with their shadow, essentially.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. And I think such a mission statement that I think would heal the world like on a political level, on a micro level, on a macro level. I just think that society needs to turn inward and make amends with the shadow within them. So I think that that's so deeply important. And with that, I'd love for us to ultimately close with a little lightning round. Just some questions that I like to ask that are kind of astrology related, but also just human related. The first being, what is in your own chart your own favorite placement?
Oh, my favorite placement, honestly, Sagittarius rising. I think it makes me elite
Yeah,
in some
same.
ways. Yeah, Sag rising.
Same. I'm like, Kim Kardashian's a Sag rising. Like, why wouldn't we
Oh, word. Okay.
be famous? She is. What is in your own chart your least favorite placement?
That Taurus North Node, for that Taskmaster Taurus North Node that won't see me get any rest. Yeah, that one.
It is a bit difficult. And in terms of like someone else in your life, just no one in particular, what is like the hardest placement for you to sort of get along with or understand?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would say probably Cancer rising.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I
There's
don't think I
a
know any. I think I've kept those far away.
It's hard. Cancer rising, there's a certain leading with that sensitivity, leading with, the fifis. I find that with my fire, I find that incredibly tiring. And I need like a salt bath afterwards. I feel like if Cancer risings were an animal, like no shade to anybody. If Cancer rising was an animal, they would be a boa constrictor. Squeeze you to the left.
Yeah.
Let me breathe. I need to breathe.
That's so fascinating. I love that. Yeah. Just on your neck like that. Okay, gorgeous. Love that. If there's one album that you could play aliens to introduce them to mankind and sort of give them an idea of who we are as people, what album would it be?
Oh my God. You know what? It would be Bonnie Bear 22 a million. Justin Vernon has a way of creating music that pops me right into the vortex. So although there are other albums by people like Ani DeFranco and that have lyrics that I feel like really speak to the best parts of humanity and the worst parts, that visceral component of what it means to be spiritual but having a human experience, that 22 a million, I basically mostly anything I've ever written, I've written to that album because it just pops me into the vortex.
Ooh, that's fascinating.
He's on some stuff. Let me tell
Yeah.
you something. He's on some stuff. It is another level. Yeah. So Bon Iver, 22 million.
Yeah, I feel like they would find a lot of familiarity almost in anything Bon Iver. So that's incredible. Last two questions. What do you think little you would think of your life right now?
Oh, she would be freaking ecstatic. She would be surprised
Yeah.
and happy. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my, that's all that matters, honestly. You should only be occupied with impressing little you. That's amazing.
Okay.
And lastly, usually the question is what's your season of life right now? But for you specifically, is there an animal energy that you would give this season of life right now for yourself?
Oh my God, coming with the best questions. Yes, I would. I would give
Thank
this
you.
I would give this season of life beluga whale energy.
Ooh.
It's maternal, it's intuitive, it's riding the wave, and it's very sensorially prominent. It's all about the sensory. It's all about picking up at those cues and perceiving information through a feeling lens. So I would say beluga whale.
Mm. Oh my God, that makes so much sense. And I just, like I said, I'm so grateful that you're open with sharing yourself with me, sharing yourself with all of us. I think obviously any YouTuber subscriber can attest to the moment when you did the grand face reveal. It was like mama came home, you know what I mean? Like, it's like we all feel so close to you, and it's because you've been such an avid part of and a compass in all of our lives. And so with that, I'm so happy for you, so grateful for you, so excited for this book to come out. I believe it's already available for pre-order, right? Because I'm like, I need to do this.
It is indeed through my website, ladycrow.net. You can pre-order the book. And when you pre-order, if you send me proof of purchase, I will send you a free oracle reading from my new oracle deck, Shadow Animal Oracle, which is coming out next year.
Hey. Oh, she's booked and busy. Oh my gosh. I love that. Well, thank you so much. I just could not be more grateful. You are really the only, I think I rotate around like 2 to 3 intuitives that I trust with my whole being. And you are not number 2, let's say that. I adore you. And yeah, thank you for being open to doing this. It means the world.
Thank you, my friend. It's been fun. Thank you for bringing all of this good stuff to the younger gen and making it fun and relatable.
Of course. Oh my God, of course. Thank you for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform to catch the next big 3. See you then.